Sip of coffee. Man, I was like, I'm gonna be concise today on these questions. Nope. I do my best. All right. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 122 of the Love and Stitches podcast. Today is Friday, October 29th, I think. That was me figuring out what the date is in my brain. It is the last podcast episode that I'm recording in October, but the first one that we'll post in November. So happy November when you're watching this. I can't believe it's November already. I feel like I've said that every single month this year. This has been such a weird year. Like truly so many changes going on. But anyway, let's not get that deep in minute one of the podcast. Let's talk about knitting. So I have a finished object today that I can't wait to share. Oh wait, let's talk about the weather really quickly. It is finally getting cold and staying cold throughout the day. Maybe like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, it started to be a little chilly in the morning, like just below 60 degrees, then an occasional 50-degree morning, and then it would get to be the 70s in the afternoon. But now it is like 50 degrees all day long and it's getting cold, and I actually wore some knitting earlier this week, but I didn't wear anything today. I am wearing my Hill Country Weavers baseball tee, but I wanted to be comfy because it's Friday and I'm wearing leggings and I want to be comfy and do some knitting later today. I can't wait to knit. I mean, I've done a little bit of knitting this morning, but that's not nearly enough. My quota is much bigger for the day. But I do have a finished object that I sort of showed last week, but saved to be finished today. And that is my Bundle Up socks. So this yarn is from Ruby and Roses and it's called Bundle Up, and the green is Conifer. And I do have my label from Ruby and Roses. Bundle Up plus Conifer. This is one of her holiday yarns. And now we can get rid of that. So satisfying. But I think it turned out really, really nicely. I love how all the different colors look together. So I have been messing around with my sock recipe, which has made me a little bit less likely to knit on socks right now because I have to do a little bit more thinking. But I have done a couple things in these socks that I am trialing out in the hopes that I will eventually have a class where I teach you how to do this for your own foot, to customize socks to fit you the best. So you don't have to do any guessing like, will this fit me? What do I need to do? You will know. So I have been messing around. I mean, it looks pretty much like my normal sock recipe, but I have changed my stitch counts. I've done some things special with the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I am doing a sort of like lazy anatomical toe. I don't know if you can tell. But basically, instead of making the same rate of decreases on either side of the toe, they're just slightly different, so that one side is a little more abrupt and one is a little more subtle, and so they fit better. Oh, and I found like a really great cast on that's super, super stretchy. You can see like on this one, not quite as stretchy. This one, super stretchy. So that's really great. So let me see. You know what? I'm not going to put these on right now because I actually haven't taken a picture of them yet. But anyway, just know that you're like, oh, why isn't she knitting socks as much? It's like, when I have to think about them, socks aren't my easy project. I've actually been thinking about casting on some hats now that it's getting cold because I need some hats. So I'm also drinking my second cup of coffee. But yeah, so that's my finished object for the week, that all I had to do was like weave in the ends and graft one toe, and now they are finally done, finished, and I am so happy with them. I think they're really, really pretty. I mean, they are kind of a wintry name, but they can be worn, I think, during all seasons. So stick those back up on there and I can get a picture of them later on. Okay, what project do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about my other sock project that I have been working on. And again, this is not a simple vanilla sock, so it hasn't been like flowing off the needles like socks can do for me sometimes. And I have been keeping it in this adorable little yarn bowl. It's got its tail as the curve of the yarn. I don't usually put my yarn through there anyway, but I have been keeping this out on the windowsill that's behind my desk. So if I have a couple of minutes, if I'm waiting on something, if I'm watching, you know, through a video editing it or watching a premiere with y'all, I can have something to knit on. And I like doing that, like having this out so that I am working on it more often, more frequently. But here is this sock. I've made a decent amount of progress. My pumpkin is hiding. There's my little pumpkin progress keeper, which I will continue to use throughout November. I kind of keep thinking like, oh, you know, after October 31st, I have to put away all the pumpkin stuff, but you know, pumpkins can be, you know, used all the way up until Thanksgiving. Maybe not jack-o'-lanterns, but that's up to you. You can do whatever you want. So this pattern is Knitting with Besties by Dana Rae Makes. And in the Knitting with Besties pattern is 2 patterns, and this is the plaid blanket sock. But you'll find it on Ravelry under Knitting with Besties. So it's like really cool that there's that plaid look. And I am using Moonglow Yarn Company's, where is it? The Moonglow Yarn Company Haunted Rose Garden sock set, which is the sock set that Whitney and I designed together. We put these colors together, and I think it's looking really good. So it's a really deep, dark brown, and then 5 other colors. This orange one is called Sweater Weather. So they have different names for the sock set because they're spooky, but you can also get these colors regularly in her shop if you are like, oh, I love that color and you want to knit something with it. So I have just started on the second half of the heel. And if you notice, I've got stripes here on the back of the leg where the texture pattern is on the front. So when you're doing the Fish Lips Kiss heel, because it's a very shallow heel, you need a little bit more of the leg to be an extension of that heel because it's going to be down in your shoe. So the designer recommends doing 1 inch of stockinette, stopping your pattern and doing 1 inch of stockinette on the back half of the leg, so that it's smooth. So that's what I did with my whole last repeat. I just did knit stitches on the back and I kept the pattern on the front of the foot. And when I was looking at that, I was like, you know, I really like how just the stripes look. So I'm going to continue that for the foot. It will be a little bit faster. It looks really cute. So I'll have like a different look for the leg and the foot. And then also I won't have to worry about these, like the bumps being too textured in my shoe. I don't know if that would be a problem. I don't think it would be too much, but mostly because I want to see those stripe colors, like the colors as stripes, and because I want to make it a little bit faster. So I'm going to do that for the foot. I think that's going to be really cute. So stay tuned. I'd like to get these going and finished up, like, I guess maybe in the first half of November, because after that, I am going to be doing pretty much Christmas makes and holiday makes. And so I want to get these finished up then. But they're such good fall colors that I don't feel too bad about not finishing them in October. I really wanted to though. Okay, my next whip. My whips are dwindling now that I don't have as many sweaters, but that's a good thing. That means I can make more progress. So I have this next whip in this bag. I can't even remember. I want to say I got it in like North Carolina at a yarn shop. I don't know, but anyway, it has cats at the movie theater. So I have this bag reserved for when I go to the movies, and we had planned to go to the movies earlier this week, and then we just never ended up going. So I had this project ready to go. I had it on a stockinette portion because if it's just knitting and purling, something really simple, I can knit on it in the dark. So this is my long summer cardigan by Joji Locatelli, and I have made a good amount of progress. I've got a lot of stitches since I'm on the body, and I have knit from, what is this? like a flamingo smoothie. There we go. A flamingo smoothie. I have knit from there, so I've done almost a full repeat because the repeat includes the introduction of the color, this twisted rib, and then a portion of stockinette. And I have 2 more rows to go in the stockinette before I can start the next color, which is the next repeat. So I am on, I always like to make progress and plans for my knitting. That's what motivates me to keep going. So I am on the I'm on the 4th of 7 colors in this pink fade. You can really see that it's fading there. I love that. So I have 3 more to go, and my goal is to do 1 section per week, which is about on par because I'm just 2 rows shy today of where I was last week, I think, or I don't know exactly where I was, but that seems pretty doable. So what I have been doing is I have been knitting on this project in the morning for my 30 minutes of knitting, and I will sit in bed with my breakfast, I will read and knit, and I can usually get, if it's the stockinette portion, I can maybe do 3 rows. If it's the twisted rib, I can do like 1.5 rows. So it's not quite enough knitting throughout the week to get all of the repeat done. But as long as I'm working on it in other bits and pieces, then I think that I can do 1 section per week. So that would mean that in 3 more weeks, I will have the body portion done aside from the ribbing that goes on the bottom. Then of course I have sleeves, and I have the whole band that goes around it. So this is a long-term project. It has been, you know, I cast it on I think in August, so it's gonna take me a long time, but it's kind of nice. It's like peaceful, enjoyable knitting, so it's not so bad. And maybe when I finish up my shawl, which I'm going to show next, I can focus more on this. But here's my 5th color that I'm going to be introducing in just 2 rows, and then it just keeps fading darker and darker from there. So I haven't decided yet either. I might need to do another repeat of this for it to actually be a long cardigan. Gosh, should I put it on? Let's try it. I don't want to lose any stitches here, but I think I'll be okay. Let's try it on real quick because I don't know quite how long it is. It's definitely going to grow a touch, but I don't know how long it's going to grow. So right now we are at 4 sections out of 7. It's like right here. And so my hip bones are like right here. So it's definitely, you know, not quite long enough yet. So if I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3. If I've got this much more, it would be like to here. So you know what? That's probably fine. I don't think I'm going to make it any longer than that. It may not be as long as Hohi's, but I think it will still be like a cute long cardigan. So I definitely have to I think it would be smart because it's so much knitting to go ahead and block this before I do the band around, because that would be a shame if I did the whole band, then blocked it and was like, oh, it's just not quite long enough or just a little too long where it's sitting in an awkward spot. Definitely don't want that. Okay, my last project is Shellography, and today the 4th and final clue was released. I have not started the 4th clue yet. I have completed all the way up to clue 3. So if you're still hiding and you don't want to see up to clue 3 on Shellography, this is your warning to look away. And I will try to remember to put a timestamp here for the next section so that you can skip ahead if you don't want to see Shellography. Okay, so all of my Shellography yarns are linked in my project page, except maybe my grays. I don't think I've updated that yet. I definitely need to update that. I finished this week's clue on Wednesday, early in the day, and maybe not early in the day, but before nighttime, before my nighttime knitting. and the next clue didn't come out till Friday. So this is the first time ever that I have finished a clue, not just on time, but early. I was so pleased with myself. And then I was like, now what? And I honestly didn't do that much knitting in the past couple days. I worked on my sock a little bit, but that's really it. So I guess I am totally motivated by new and exciting projects, at least right now. Okay, so let me show you how it is looking, this wild and crazy thing. I have 6 colors in my Shellography instead of 5. I've been adding my darker pink in different places in the gray, or just changing it out a lot. So clue 1 and clue 2 I showed in the last podcast, but they're nice and bright. And then here is clue 3. It was definitely a shorter section. Clue 3 included this brioche, and I have to say I love these 2 colors together so much. I want to use them in a sweater. I think they are so fantastic, and I still have a lot of my pink yarn left. I know I haven't finished the shawl yet, but I think I might have enough to do like a small amount of color work on the top of a sweater. So I have something in mind for that. And then we also have these crisscrosses, which are so cool. These were challenging, I have to say, because you wrap the yarn around the needle a bunch of times and then you release it to extend the long loops and then cross them over. But it was fun to do. And while you do need to purchase the shawl pattern in order to create this shawl, Steven's videos are on YouTube for free. So if you wanted to just like go see how to do this technique, or see if you can manage to do the technique before purchasing the shawl pattern, you can go do that, which I think is really cool. So that was it for clue 3. That's all. And now, clue 3. Now I'm ready for clue 4, and I'm excited to make it a little bit bigger. I am going to be doing that option because he usually includes an option to make a smaller or larger shawl, and I would like mine to be a little bit larger. So I'm excited to start that later this afternoon. It sounds like you get to use all the colors, so I think that will be super, super fun. So that is it for my knitting this week. I'd say pretty good progress, especially on Shellography, but I am totally itching to cast on something new. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people just like you and me. I am continuing down the productivity train here on Skillshare. There are so many amazing classes for whatever you want to learn, but also if you are an entrepreneur or have a side hustle, or even in your own job or your own life, and you're like, how do I get productive here? How do I organize myself? And I find myself to be pretty organized, but I still need help because I'm in a whole new terrain here with running my own business. So I'm still taking lots of productivity classes, and they have been so helpful. This time I found one specifically for creatives, for artists, and I think it's going to apply perfectly to knitting and crochet and creating videos on YouTube. And I've just started it, and I'm so excited to finish the course. But it is called Productivity for Artists: Organizing Yourself for Success by Brooke Glaser. And this was actually a suggestion that Skillshare gave me after I took a bunch of other productivity classes. It gives you suggestions to keep you rolling in the different categories that you like to learn. I love that most of the classes on Skillshare are under 60 minutes, so they're really easy to fit into your schedule. I'm trying to do about 30 minutes a day of learning so that I get just a little bit every day and then I can apply it. Skillshare has tons of classes for everything from freelance to artistry. I even watched something on makeup because I'm trying to think about getting into makeup. Everything that you can imagine or want to learn is here on Skillshare. Now, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to use the link in the description box below will get to try Skillshare Premium 1 month for free. Start exploring your creativity today. Let's talk about questions. I've got some more excellent questions this week. Oops. I have one thing I'm going to show you when I answer the question, so I wanted to have that. If you have any questions for me, head to Ravelry to the Ask Me thread in the Love and Stitches Ravelry group, and I will answer your question as quickly as I can, which is not very quick. About 5 weeks actually is where we're at, because the first question I'm going to answer today is from September 27th, but I will get to them, I promise. Okay, this question is from Mulberry Scribbler. Hi Natalie, I enjoy watching your podcast. Not only is it educational, but it's a relaxing way to wind down and enjoy some crafting. Thank you. I've noticed your large bag filled with needles, as well as your knit pick set. Would you mind showcasing your collection of needles and how you store them? Interchangeable needles, if not managed, can become disorganized chaos, and I know you'll have the perfect organizational ideas, Elizabeth. Well, I brought my needles to show you. So this is my pouch that has all of my needles and crochet hooks in them. It is from, I think it's called Danica Studio. Yeah, Danica Studio. And this pouch was in a swag bag that I got at the Hill Country Weaver Retreat in 2020. So I used to have a lot more needles. I had one of those hanging things for my circular needles. And then I kind of realized, like, why do I have all these fixed circular needles when I have the same size in my interchangeable set, and I like my interchangeable set more? I really don't need all these needles. So not too long ago, I got rid of all of my fixed needles that are size 4 and up, because I have my smallest size in my interchangeable kit is size 4. And I just recently did a needle organization video showing you how I made these. So I will have that linked to show you that. But I'll kind of go through really quickly here how I have everything organized. Everything is in separate pouches now. I used to have my stuff in Ziploc baggies, but I just found that the pouches are a lot better. So I have a set of double pointed needles in sizes 0 to 3. I don't really ever use these because I don't enjoy using double pointed needles, but I have them for teaching lessons. And then I have a needle gauge in here. This is from Erin Lane Bags. It's how I keep my interchangeable needles organized, and I've had this for like almost 10 years. So basically it's just different sections for the interchangeable tips. Mine does not have labels on it, but I know that I always put size 4 in the first one, so I can go, okay, this is a 4, then this is a 5, 6, 7, 8. And I know exactly what is in there. There's 2 smaller pouches, and I keep size 24 and 32 cords in here because that's what I use the most. And then there's a large pouch where I keep my short set of interchangeable needles, also from Knit Picks. I really like these Knit Picks wooden needles, and they are a really good price. And then in here I have a little container that has my, oh no. That just spilled everywhere. It just broke. Anyway, it has the end caps and the key and the connectors. And then I have one more smaller needle gauge so that I can always test out my needle sizes and see what they are. And then I have my pouches. And in my pouches is where I keep all of my extra stuff. So I mentioned that my kit only goes from, my interchangeable kit only goes from size 4 up, and I use size 1, 2s, and 3s a lot too. So where is the other one? Oh, I guess I have them all together. So in these pouches, I have my size 1 needles, my size 2 needles, and my size 3 needles, so that they're all separated, because those I need to have as fixed needles. I have all my crochet hooks in a pouch. I then have the rest of everything is all my extras for my interchangeable needles. So these are all of my duplicate needle tips. I probably have like extras of sizes 5, 6, 7, and 8 that I use a lot. I have a ton of those end stoppers that I dropped on the ground. These things. which are great for trying on garments. And also if you, let's say, only have one size or one set of size 7 needle tips, but you need them for another project, you can put the end stoppers on one project and switch your needle tips to a free cord and use them. And the reason I have so many end stoppers is when you buy extra needle tips, they come with more cords and end stoppers. And then these are all my extra cords. So in here I have extra 24, 32, and then I also have 40, 47, and 60. So when I need those, which is not as frequent, but I do actually have a 40-inch on my Shellography right now, I can easily go and grab those. So that's how I keep my needles and hooks organized. Everything is in one pouch, which I keep in one of the baskets on my IKEA shelf, and that has been working out great for me. I've had everything in that pouch for a while now, but I just switched to the smaller pouches a few weeks ago. So again, I'll have that video if you want to make those or get those pouches from Amazon, because that has made a huge difference. I actually really like that. Next question is from Stinkzilla. Hi, Natalie. I always find myself turning to you with some problem or another. Here's the latest one. I am knitting the featherweight cardigan, my first ever sweater. I finished the first skein of yarn and had been working about 10 inches into the second skein when I noticed there is a color difference between the skeins. I'm adding a picture here, and we'll put it up so you can see it. I'm adding a picture here so you can see the difference. Sadly, I'm leaning towards ripping back and re-knitting, alternating skeins this time to minimize the difference between the two. So how far back should I frog? The whole thing, or maybe just below the sleeve split? What is the best way to alternate yarn, and should I alternate every row? Should I carry the yarn up the side? If I carry the yarn up the side, will that make it hard for me to pick up stitches from the collar? Questions, help. Thanks as always, Kathy. All right, so let's talk about alternating skeins. When you use a hand-dyed yarn, it is always recommended that you alternate skeins for this reason exactly. So alternating skeins means that you're gonna pick 2 of your yarns and you're going to alternate them either every row if you're in the round, or every other row if you're knitting flat. So in this case for Kathy, the best thing would have been to start at the beginning and alternate every 2 rows because she's knitting flat. I think you're knitting a cardigan. If not, I'm going to talk about how to alternate knitting in the round as well. So my favorite thing to do is, let's just pretend this project had not been started yet, is I will cast on, work a few rows with the first skein, and then go ahead and introduce my second skein. I don't introduce it like exactly on the 3rd row per se, just because I want to get into the project a little bit, but you should introduce it as early as possible. If you're working a project where it's like a raglan sweater at the top and then you join in the round, that would be another good place to join in your second skein and start alternating. But ideally you start it pretty much right at the beginning. So when you are alternating yarns, when you're knitting flat, you can only alternate every 2 rows because your yarn will be carried up on one side, on the right side. So you will, with skein 1, knit and then purl, and then pick up skein 2, knit and then purl. No, I'm not showing you. Knit and then purl, pick up skein 1 again, knit, purl, skein 2, knit, purl, and all your yarn is going to be carried up on the right-hand side. The challenge for that is, aside from having to carry around 2 skeins of yarn, a little bit annoying, but it can be very tight on that side. So this is my best tip, and I've been doing this on my long summer cardigan because I have been carrying the colors when I introduce them. I mean, I only carry them, let's see, is that the right side? Yes, I only carry them up like these 2 rows, right? Because I'm not alternating that much. But here's what I do. When I introduce the pink color here on the second time that I knit it, it's got to carry up the side here, and so does the gray. Oh my gosh, why is this so hard to get things to focus? Sigh. Anyway, you can kind of see that the threads carry across there. So this is my trick. I don't know where I learned this, but it's the best thing ever. Oh, this also works on shawls. You know how one side of your shawl where you do the increases is always tighter than the other? Even if you're not changing yarns, this will work for this too. Okay, basically you need to elongate that edge stitch on the right-hand side because you're carrying your colors. The way that you can do that easily and evenly is to add a yarn over on the knit side, on the right side row. So this looks like picking up the new color, you've carried it, knit one, yarn over, and then knit across that whole row. Then come back purling, and when you get to the last two stitches, because one's a yarn over, don't forget, put a marker in if you need to. You drop the yarn over, you just let it go, and then you purl the last stitch. Your stitch count should not change because you added the yarn over on the right side, drop it on the wrong side. But what that does is it elongates your edge stitch just enough to give you enough like even tension when you're carrying those colors. That helps me so much. I've been doing that on this cardigan. I've been doing that on Slip Stravaganza a lot to add in a little extra room. I love to do this on shawls. It helps so much. So that's my best tip for alternating when you're knitting flat. And when you're knitting in the round, you'll alternate yarns every row, basically, like one row of skein one row of skein two. And the best way to do this is with helical knitting. Helical knitting is where you don't just change your yarns at the beginning of the round, you move the point where you alternate yarns. It's the best thing ever. It's super easy. You just basically slip 3 stitches. I've got a tutorial on it as well. So I will try to remember to link that tutorial. Just made a note, link that tutorial too, but it's great to use. So for you specifically, Kathy, because you've already started this, I would say maybe go back, like you said, to the armpits, because you want to go back at least like 4 to 5 inches on your first skein so that you can start to essentially fade in your second skein. So you'll still have a lighter, darker top and bottom, but it won't be very obvious. It might not really be obvious at all because you will have faded in the middle. You will have alternated in the middle. So I would try that and see how that looks. I think that that will work out just fine. Okay. Sip of coffee. Man, I was like, I'm going to be concise today on these questions. Nope. I do my best. All right, this question is from I'm Olivia Lee. Okay. This question says, hi Natalie, I have a question about gauge swatching. Sometimes on a pattern it says that the gauge is 24 stitches and 30 rows in a 4 by 4 inch square, but would it be okay or inaccurate if I divided it by 6 and did a 4 stitch by 5 row gauge? Sometimes I'm lazy and I don't want to knit the whole thing, but I'm not sure if I should do that. Thanks in advance. Here's my quick answer. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. That's going to be very inaccurate and honestly impossible to measure. So I am a huge proponent of making really good gauge swatches. It makes a difference. I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, I gauge swatch and it doesn't tell me anything, so I stopped doing it. And honestly, that does happen. It does happen from time to time, but the better you get at making your gauge swatches, the more information they're going to give you and the more they will actually serve a purpose for you. So if you make a really tiny gauge swatch and then you don't block it and you don't even have enough stitches for an inch gauge, it's gonna be futile. Like it's gonna be pointless. So take the time to make a really good gauge swatch, especially for something like a sweater that you're gonna wear. It's very important. So what I like to do is I will cast on typically whatever the gauge, like 4-inch gauge is. So you said in your example, 24 stitches. So I would cast on 24 stitches. I don't really worry about knitting 30 rows. I just knit like maybe 3 inches worth of knitting, 3 to 4 inches. But 30 rows would be fine. You can do that too. But I hesitate to say just do exactly what the gauge is, because what I don't want you doing is measuring the entire gauge swatch. That's not going to give you an accurate picture. If you're measuring from end to end on your gauge swatch, you are including rows and stitches that are not full stitches because they're going to curl up on the edge when they're edge stitches. They're going to be wider or tighter at cast on and cast off points. So best thing to do, cast on what it says, knit the full 4 inches, wash and block it, and then lay it down flat. If you need to use pins just to hold the edge, that's fine, but don't stretch it. And then measure dead in the middle. Dead in the middle, measure over 2 inches, not all the way across, measure over 2 inches, count how many stitches that is, count halves if they're in there, and then divide by 2. And that will get you your stitch per inch gauge. I also realize I've been going like this a lot, so sorry. I'm very passionate about this because I think it's very important. That's going to give you your best gauge. It is worth knitting for an hour to an hour and a half on a gauge swatch, waiting 24 hours to wash and block a swatch, to then spend 40 plus hours knitting something if you want it to come out right. Hear me. Hear me, okay? This is so important. But yeah, I would not even waste your time knitting a swatch that is 4 stitches wide. It's just going to be an I-cord. It's not going to do anything to help you with your project. Okay, next question. This question is from Lara Creations. Hi, Natalie. Do you have any suggestions for shrinking a 100% wool sweater? As per usual, my sweater has expanded more than I intended post-wash and laid out to dry. I would love to make it smaller again, particularly the cuffs and neckline. The only way I can think of to do so is to throw it in the dryer, and I think I love my sweater a little too much to even think about risking that. Oh, that's such a bummer. And again, back to the swatch thing, this may, I can't say for sure, but this may have been prevented by making a big swatch and washing it. Oh, that's so important too. I always forget this, but you should measure your swatch and write down your stitch and row gauge before blocking and after blocking so that you can know exactly what is going to happen when, like for this example, when she washed her sweater, it grew, now it's too big, and she might have known that with a swatch. Again, I don't know if you might have knit a swatch, and that's happened to me before too. But okay, so back to this question. Shrinking your sweater. So do you want the whole thing to be smaller overall? If you want the whole thing to be smaller overall, what I would do is be very, very careful with putting your sweater in the dryer. I would wash it again, let it get almost dry, like barely damp, and then put it in the dryer for like 5-minute increments and see what happens. It might shrink up just like a little bit. Not even like felting. I don't know if you really want to felt your sweater because then it will be very stiff, but it might just like pull the gaps between the stitches together a little more. I especially hear people do this with superwash yarn. They let it get almost dry and then throw it in the dryer just so it kind of like shrinks up in between the stitches, but doesn't actually affect the yarn itself. If it's just the cuffs and the neckline, I would consider re-knitting those by taking them out and doing some decreases. On the neckline, pick up fewer stitches. I know that that happens a lot with sweaters where they're just really wide, and you can change that by picking up fewer stitches and even doing like a couple of decreases at like raglan points to make it tighter and kind of pull the whole sweater together a little bit more. So good luck. I know that's so frustrating when you spend all that time on something and it doesn't come out the way you want, but it might be worth spending a little more time on it to get it knit the way that you want it, so that you can wear it. All right, this is a good one. This is like knitting related, but not super duper knitting. So let's get into this one. This is from Mr. X Clyden. If you feel comfortable, can you share how you get paid from YouTube? I'm wondering if I should let all ads play through instead of skipping as a way to support you and other content creators. Beginning ads and ads throughout, as well as letting videos play completely to the end. Any information on how this works would be appreciated, Chris. Okay, I would love to share that with you. That's a great question. So there are 3 ways that YouTubers get paid, but only one of them actually has to do with YouTube itself. So we'll start with that one. So once you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and 200,000 watch minutes. I can't remember exactly what the number is. If you're starting a YouTube podcast or something, you can go to monetization in the YouTube studio and see your progress towards being able to monetize with ads. But that's the first thing. You have to meet that threshold in order to put ads on your videos. So once a YouTuber or a YouTube account has reached 1,000 subscribers and the watch minutes, they can start to put ads on their videos. And hold on just a second, I'm going to restart this so my camera doesn't time out on me. So a creator always has a choice to put ads on his or her videos or their videos. And I choose to put ads on my videos because it's a really great way to make money for putting out what is free content. But how do ads actually work? Because that was your question. Like, do you need to watch them all? And I will say there's not really a clear answer to this, because if I'm YouTube and I am getting brands to pay for ad spots, I don't want to advertise that, you know, you only have to watch X amount of the ad in order to support a creator. So there's really no clear direction on this. But my gut instinct is that the more of an ad or the more ads beginnings that you watch, the better. So sometimes there's 2 ads in the beginning where it's like, it'll say ad 1 of 2 and it'll be like 15 seconds long. So what I like to do to support creators that I'm a big fan of, like if I'm watching somebody's video for the first time, I don't do this. Like obviously you do whatever you want. But I will watch the 15-second ad, and then if the next one's like only 10 or 15 seconds, I'll watch that too. And I mean, by watch, I'm not like eyes on the screen. I might be doing something else. I'll let it play. But if the second ad is like a minute, I will skip it. But I kind of like to let that first ad play through. I will say this, like you should not be miserable watching YouTube. So don't feel forced to watch all of the ads. Like you can skip ads. I think that's okay, especially when somebody puts more than one ad in their video, which I do, because that's a better prospect for me for all of the time and work that I put into a video is to put ads throughout the video. And that's just what I choose to do. So I wouldn't feel so bad about skipping them, but I don't know exactly how it works. That's the information that I have. That's the best thing that I can give to you. I think only YouTube knows exactly how that works. So ads on videos like pay different amounts, and like we don't actually know what they pay. But I will say that ads that have more videos that have more general content will get ads that pay higher, because advertisers know they can market to a wider audience. So between my knitting channel, Knitty Natty, and This and That, the ads that go on the This and That videos are probably more, probably pay higher, because they are ads that can be beneficial to the majority of people. Whereas on a knitting video, you know, you might get like a creative ad or something like that. Anyway, you have no control over that. It's about what content I put out and what viewers are watching. It's a totally complicated thing. But anyway, watch the ads how you want to. I think it definitely helps to let some ads play through for your favorite creators, but don't torture yourself watching YouTube. Don't make it miserable, and you know, go on with that. Basically, that's how it works to make money on YouTube, is you get paid through Google Ads. The other ways that people, I don't know if you're interested in this, but I'm going to share real quick. The other ways that YouTubers make money on YouTube is to have sponsorships. And this has nothing to do with YouTube or how long you watch. Before the video is even created, a brand and the creator will decide on an amount of money that the creator will be paid once they include the content. So it might look like a couple of minutes talking about the product with like some links in the description box. It might look like also posting on Instagram. I don't know, it's an agreement that the creator and the brand come to. They agree on what the creator has to do and how much money they will get for that. And then that's done. And then the video goes out. So it's not directly affected by how you watch the video, except that of course, if the video does really well, then the brand might want to work with that person again. So, you know, it kind of is related, but not directly related to YouTube. And then the final way is through like links and affiliate links. So in my description box, I have an Amazon storefront. It's an affiliate storefront. Sometimes when I work with a brand, there's tracking on that link. So again, it's not directly affected by maybe how you watch the video, but if you are interested in the product, it's really great when you use my link in my description box instead of going to Google it yourself, because it shows the company that I'm working with, like, hey, they found out about X through Knitty Natty. So that's really helpful. If you really want to help out your creators, you can go see if they have links in their description box, because sometimes it gets you a coupon code. Sometimes it just tells the brand like, hey, so-and-so found out about this through this person's ad. And sometimes it directly gives that creator money off of the sale that is made. So those are the 3 ways that I know of that people make money off of YouTube. So hopefully that was interesting. I talked about that way too long. You know I'm chatty. But there you go. Hopefully that answers your question, plus a bit more. Last question for today. This question is also from I'm Olivia Lee, and I wanted to answer your second question. This one will be quick. Hi Natalie, I'm knitting the Perfect Knit t-shirt by Originally Lovely, and I was at a part where you join the flat pieces together to knit in the round. I cast on my stitches and started knitting like usual, but noticed that at the part where I joined in the round, there is a continuous, large, loose hole. Is there any way to get rid of this hole in the future, or do I just need to sew it closed? Thanks in advance. Okay, so I'm going to put in a picture of what she's talking about. It's not a hole, so don't worry about that. It's just a gap in the knitting where you've done 2 different things to join in the round. So in the future, it might help if when you are connecting those pieces to join in the round, you pull on your yarn a little tighter to close that up a little bit. Because if that first part is tighter, the rest of it is tighter. You can see how there's a bigger gap at the top where it was first connected, and it gets smaller and smaller and eventually goes away about 4 rounds in. So pulling a little tighter can definitely help just in that stitch. But to fix it, I'm guessing you're gonna have an edging here where you go and pick up stitches. That's going to help a ton because that's going to pull everything together when you pick up those stitches. And then you can also work to even out those long strands by working them into the knitting. You basically follow a stitch along its row and like pull on one leg at a time to kind of even things out. Or you can also sew it closed, but I find it works better to go stitch by stitch along the row and even things out so much more. All right, that's all the questions for today. That was a lot. Always so chatty. I can't help it. I truly can't help it. I might have to do another Q&A video just to catch up on everything again because I am so desperately behind. So yeah, you might see that coming here soon. All right, let's do some announcements. We've got a lot going on, so many fun things, and we've got some things coming to a close, other things opening up. So let's get through those real quickly. The first is the Fall Garment Make-Along is ending on November 6th. That's just a couple of days from now. And we are having our end of Make-Along celebration on Sunday, November 7th at 2 p.m. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm going to do this a little differently. We're going to have a Zoom where people can join me live. I can take up to 99 people in my live Zoom, and then we're gonna broadcast it to YouTube. I think this is gonna be really, really fun because it's going to be a way to actually see and talk to some of y'all and have you show off the things you've been working on during the Fall Garment Make-Along. You don't have to have a finished object, just have your project with you and you can choose to show it off if you want to in that. So I have a link down in the description box to sign up for a spot in that Zoom. You have to sign up in order to be invited to it. I'm going to send out an email with the direct Zoom link. So if you want to come and like talk to me like we're almost in person, sign up for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. You don't have to speak. You can just come and listen if you want to. And then that's going to be broadcast to YouTube. So after 99 spots fill up, I won't be able to take any more. So then we will be on YouTube so that everyone can join in the chat box. So again, this is the first time we're doing it, so I'm curious to see how it goes, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And if it goes well, we'll do it again for the future. I think that would be great. Sockmas is another make along that it's going to start at the end of November, but the Sockmas products are already live. Some of them I'm guessing might be sold out at this point. I'm not sure because they go live for me in camera time today, but by the time this posts, they will have been live for about a week. So I will have all the links plus the make along page in my description box now from now until the end of Sockmas at the end of December. But go check that out. See if any of those products are still available. It is a sock make along where we are going to be knitting and crocheting on socks, holiday themed socks from November 26th to December 17th. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that. And the last thing is my Fish Lips Kiss Heel class goes on sale today, November 4th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. I have limited spots. The class is going to be held next week, November 10th and 11th. So there are two class times. One's at lunchtime at noon, from noon to 1:30. One's in the evening from 8 to 9:30 p.m. And each class is a two-part segment, or has two parts. It's a two-part class. So you will have, you will attend both. The first day on Wednesday, we'll do the first half of the heel together, and then that will give you the rest of the day to complete it. And then the second day, the second class, will do the last part of the heel together. And it's a live class on Zoom, so you can ask your questions. I'm going to be showing you everything. I have a camera that faces my hands, so I can show you everything. And then I will send the class out to you so that you can watch it later, or if you can only make one day, you'll be able to view that class. This is the last time that I'm doing this class live, where you can interact with me in person. So if you've been wanting to do this class, make sure to go sign up as soon as it opens, because I anticipate it getting full very quickly, but I'm excited to do this. That doesn't mean that I will not have the opportunity to learn about the Fish Lips Kiss heel. It will just look different in the future. Okay, let's talk about life. So honestly, I can't believe a week's gone by since I've done my last podcast. I feel like nothing exciting has happened. I've been knitting, I've been working a lot, really laying low. We had a crazy September, which I know now it's November when you're watching this, but we had a crazy September, a lot of travel. And so October has been like a lot of like focused time on trying to get, things moving here at our home, and with my work and everything, just trying to figure out a routine. So that's really what I've been focused on this week. Nothing exciting. I am hoping that tomorrow we're going to go out and watch some football. I believe I will have a vlog that would have gone up on Tuesday. It's so weird working in the future. I'm like, I don't know if that's coming yet, but I'm planning to film a vlog. So that might be up. If it is, I'll have it linked down below. But that's what I do on Saturdays is I like knit, and we sometimes go out and I bring my knitting. It's a lot of fun, and we go watch football, and I thoroughly enjoy it. To get some food out, get some beer, it's great. It's so much fun. But that's probably what's going to be going on this weekend. And Halloween, we're going to be celebrating Halloween by watching some Halloween movies. Our favorites are like Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus. I know Kent wants to watch Coraline. We might be doing that tonight. So that's going to be a lot of fun for Halloween. Bringing me joy, I've picked back up my morning 30 minutes of knitting habit, and that means that I have been reading more, which is great. I've loved my Knitting Murder Mysteries. I'm still reading those. They're so great. But I have been reading currently Bridgerton, which is a show on, I guess it's on Netflix. But I watched the first season of Bridgerton, and then I wanted to read the book, and it took so long to get it from the library. So I finally have it, and I am really enjoying it. I'm reading the first book right now, and it's really great. So I've had a lot of fun with that, just reading. I think about it during the day, about Daphne and Simon. Like, they're real people. And I don't know, it's such a great book. So I've been really thoroughly enjoying that. All right, make sure to go sign up for that Fish Lips Kiss Heel class if you would like to participate. Check out the Sockmas sponsors. Let me know if you have any questions. I will be doing my best to respond to comments and to things in Ravelry, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.